the meeting of November 21st, 2019 for the Sherborn Select Board. And I'll start by having our town administrator read the agenda.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. First, we'll amend or approve the agenda and then have a period of public comment. Then the first item is consent agenda with a payroll warrant, and look at the meeting calendar with the next meeting dates, December 5th, December 19th, and look at the future meeting calendar and approve the minutes of September 12th, 2019. Second item is consideration of town administrator items, a town council appointment, legal representation agreement. Darren Klein, general counsel from KP Law, will be here. And under routine business, finance director report, town administrator, personnel update, and then select board member reports. Then adjourn to executive session, not to return to open session. There are 5 items, and item 1 is MGL Chapter 30A, Section 21A, subsection 3, to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining if an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the bargaining position of the town and the chair so declares. Police Officers Union. Item 2, MGL Chapter 30A, Section 21A, subsection 3, to discuss strategy with respect to all pending and threatened litigation if an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the litigation position of the town and the chair so declares. Legal update from town council. Item 3, MGL Chapter 30A, Section 21A, subsection 3, to discuss strategy with respect to threatened potential litigation if an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the litigation position of the town and the chair so declares. Library. And item 4, MGL Chapter 30A, Section 21A, subsection 3, to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining if an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the bargaining position of the town and the chair so declares. All unions' health insurance. Item 5, MGL Chapter 30A, Section 21A, subsection 2, to conduct strategy sessions in preparation for negotiations with non-union personnel. Town administrator.
Thank you. Did you have one change you wanted to suggest?
Yes, my understanding, I can request it during executive session, but it's essentially to move up the library agenda item to first, because we have some members from the library bill committee, staff, and trustees that are going to join us.
Okay, that's fine with me.
Second.
Do you want to make a motion to?
Yeah, I'll make a motion that we move the third.
Oh, yeah, I think you just have to make a motion to approve the.
The approved revision to the agenda, to move the third item up to first.
Second.
In the executive session.
All right, all those in favor? Thank you. Sorry, we might have this a little bit, I got a little bit of bronchitis. So.
That's all right. Going around.
Next, we didn't have any public comment, so we will move on to the consent agenda. I do want to just take out the calendar. I don't want to just approve the calendar. I'd like to go through that a little bit. So, do I have a motion to accept the rest of the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? Excellent. So let's just look at the calendar for a second. Actually, before I do that, we gotta sign this payroll. Diane provided us a revised calendar, if I can find it. And, Jeff, if you could just sign that. We have the 2 December meetings, and then in January, I think the spring, what we tried to do, so Rick could be here to record the meetings. We kind of tried to look at, Dover had their whole schedule for the year out, so we try to do it the opposite weeks as much as we can. In February, just a reminder, on Saturday, February 1st, we're going to meet with advisory and all the budget makers that fall under the select board. And then again, in March, we have the advisory public hearing on March 14th. Right now, we only have one meeting in the beginning of April on the 9th, and then our annual town meeting on the 28th. But if there's anything that we may need to put another meeting in there at some point, if there's things that are coming up right before town meeting.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Is that all right? In terms of the advisory meeting on February, is that the first time, or do we provide any guidance? You know, because our budget, number of budgets report to us, police and fire and DPW. Do we talk, I know we want to make it efficient for them not to have to go twice, but do we give them any guidance, or is that through David that we do that in terms of before, they'll submit their budgets the end of December, so
Right.
I don't know if there's any guidance from the select board.
The only guidance that has been issued is from the finance director, and I think we, I mean, not formally, but
Yeah, I
we're looking
actually,
at 2% on salary and 0 on expenses.
right.
I mean, I think what we could do, I'm sure we'll be able to see the budgets after December 31st that they've
Yeah.
submitted. So maybe if there's anything, like if we review them and we want to reach out to some of the departments, we could probably put them in January if we think something's way out of whack.
There may be
Outside
a
of
few
guidance.
things such as what they're deciding about police vehicles
Right.
this year and some other notable things that we
Mhm.
want to look at too, besides the 2% COLA.
Right. And David, when would we be opening the warrant and opening and closing the warrant for the Springtown meeting? What's the timing on that usually?
I usually bring the schedule in, it's late December into
Okay.
January.
So we could really start working on the warrant January, those 2 January meetings, correct?
January 2nd would be tough. The second one would probably be okay. If you did like, December 20 to, at your 19th meeting, vote December 20th to January 10th, that would
Okay.
probably be.
So
enough.
then we'd,
And close the warrant.
Yeah,
we close it before the 16th meeting, right? Is that what you would suggest?
yeah.
And they have just not the budget for the year, but NOI or intention to put on a warrant article?
We kind of don't do the NOI step anymore,
Okay.
because that would be like what we're gathering right now.
Now.
People who are bringing stuff forward, we're,
So they
Doing
should
a
have at
placeholder.
least a draft by then, January 1st? for the most part?
yeah, there's a letter that we send out saying what the timeline is with the opening and closing of the warrant.
So we should probably look at that. Would we want to, we vote on that at maybe one of our next meetings when we want to open and close the warrant? Or do we want to?
So we could do that on the 5th?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, like either the 5th, probably the 5th, and that gives people
Yeah.
notice that the warrant's going to be open from a certain time, during a certain time period.
So we'll put on the agenda that item and
Open and close.
bring the timeline all the way to town.
We could maybe add to that, I don't know if there's any, because sometimes the select board creates a warrant too, don't they? So
Oh, yeah, we'll have warrant
I
articles.
don't know of any, but, so if there are.
I'm sure there'll be some, because a lot of them end up coming through us, even if
Yeah.
they're technically
Yes.
somebody else,
Yeah,
so.
but we may want to discuss that in the
Yeah.
same session, because
And throughout the year, we have a file.
You have kind of a
Some
running,
things as
a
they-
running,
okay,
Yeah.
tally.
I'm the rookie. Diane.
So, well, it would be like, they would be listed out, and if you don't want to pursue them, then they're.
Yeah, yeah.
Right,
unanswered.
right,
But
exactly.
we should try to meet the other deadline that everyone else has to meet on this 1st of January in terms of at least having a draft out there.
Right, right. I agree.
So we'll do that for the 5th. and
Excellent. So do I have a motion to
Well,
this calendar?
I want to touch on kind of what you said there.
Yep.
Do you want to make a placeholder for April 23rd? It won't overlap with Dover's, and it gives us a placeholder for reserved for one more in April before the town meeting.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Why don't we add April 23rd?
Yeah. And I had one other question. Do we want to, on Saturday, no time is specified, isn't it traditionally 8 AM? Do we wanna
Yeah, that's
include
8
that?
AM as well, yep. For the advisory hearing
8
thing.
a.m.
Just add it.
Yeah.
Usually,
Yeah.
I'll put a in there.
Okay.
8:30.
No, 8.
I'll move to approve that.
Have a
Second.
All right, all those in favor? Okay. So next, we have consideration of town administrator items, the town council appointment.
The town council is,
He's supposed to be here, right?
yeah, it's
That was
supposed to
just
be
me
here
saying
for that.
do that.
Oh, okay. Well, let's skip over that then for now, and not Diane, Sharon, do you have any?
Just, I wanted to let you know that the auditors are coming in on December 16th, that whole week, and they're gonna finalize everything so that we can get our free cash certified.
Okay,
And I wanted to let you know that I did send out all the departmental budget worksheets.
okay.
And I also sent out the compensation budget with we have a position-based file that's been distributed. And folks are working on them, so
Good.
that's it.
Okay, and town administrator?
Let me see if I can remember them. For personnel update, there have been some changes. One, our fire chief is now the fire chief at Norfolk. At your last meeting, or 2 meetings ago,
No, last meeting.
was it the last meeting? You appointed Zach Ward as the interim fire chief, and we've met with him earlier in the week to discuss some final matters and solidify the offer letter. He's met with his officers, and things seem to be moving along good
Okay.
with everyone involved from
Good.
so far. The position for the Council on Aging, the Assistant COA Director, that closed last Thursday. So there were 7 or 8 applicants for that will be reviewed. So they'll probably know within a matter of days who would be filling that position. There's a position that's posted internally at the fire department, which is daytime shift, grant-funded position was daytime shift captain, and that's the position that Zach Ward held. So as interim chief, there's an interim day shift day shift lieutenant, and he got permission to do that in order to retain the grant.
Okay.
That's paying.
Good.
We're posting something else.
The sustainability.
Oh, no, the
coordinator.
sustainability coordinator closed. No, it's not closed, it's open.
It's open, okay.
Yeah, sorry.
It just posted on MMA today.
It was posted, yeah. I think it runs in the paper either this Thursday or.
When
I
is
think
that
it's this
closed?
coming Thursday. I don't know the exact date. It's December,
Is it like 10 days or
I
something?
think it's the first week of December.
Okay.
Just because of the holiday, kind of opened it a little further. And we've had a couple of people apply so far.
Oh, really?
but,
Already
yeah,
got applications? Okay.
Yeah, so I think that's it for,
What about, maybe, this is included in the agenda, but the submission to the state for the $50,000 for the sustainability coordinator, have we submitted that?
yeah, that went with the signed IMA
Yeah, I knew we had the signed IMA.
and the
so-
job description to Steve at DEP, and he's the finance officer that receives that.
Excellent.
So we haven't heard from a confirmation of when he's sending it, but it's usually a wire transfer, and then we look to it and say, where did this come
Where
from?
did this come from?
Well, one thing I think we should do, I would, I don't know if I have to make a motion, but I would recommend we send a thank you letter to David Linsky and the woman, I forget her name.
I think we can just have David, if you,
Yeah.
David, if you
I
could
mean,
just
I
do
have
that.
already done
It's Carolyn
that,
Dykeman.
Yeah.
and
And
to,
Yeah, Carolyn Dykeman.
Yeah, just to
Carolyn,
thank
thank you,
them
Matt.
for, supporting us and.
yeah,
think
I
it's a
did.
good thing.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, that is a
I'll,
good idea.
I'll forward it so you guys have
Oh,
a
if
copy.
you've done it, that's fine. Yeah, I just, I think they came here that night and talked about it, so.
Yeah, and it was a quick, it was a quick email of thanks to let them know
Yeah.
that we're submitting it and everything's worked out, so.
Excellent.
But just to clarify, I would actually send it to both representatives, I think someone said,
Yeah, absolutely.
because teaming in the future is always going to be key.
Yeah.
I didn't hear that.
He said, make sure it got sent to both reps, not just David Linsky
Right.
and Carolyn Dykeman.
Dykeman.
Is that right? Okay, good.
She's very heavy into infrastructure funding.
I see. Sorry, go ahead. I thought you were done.
I was trying to remember the name. It was Senator Roush that
Oh,
we
okay.
had submitted to as well.
Okay,
Yeah.
excellent. For select board reports, do either of you have any? I've got one that I just wanted to announce that we had Diana, correct me if I'm wrong, there was a 40B filed for 41 North Main Street
41 North Main Street,
and 31 Hunting Lane.
31, and we also received a notice of intent to convert,
31 Hunting Lane.
yes.
Okay.
61A.
Right, so we'll have that on, we'll put that on our agenda for next meeting to
Yep.
discuss that.
So,
Do you-
is the clock started on that officially?
We usually do a timeline, and then we notify all the boards and committees on what the time period is.
So I know a couple of years ago, land acquisition actually kind of made a flow chart and a timeline.
Yeah,
Just want to make sure that if that clock has actually started ticking effectively whenever, like
Yeah.
whenever we got notice of
We
it.
got the letter
as soon
today,
as we
so.
were
And I stamped that
notified.
in, yeah.
Do you need authorization us to begin the distribution, or you can just go?
No,
Okay.
no, we'll just distribute it, and then we'll bring back the, but if you're going to discuss it on the 5th, it's not giving much time to the boards and committees to do their responses.
Well, how much time do we have to respond to, what's the timeline, do you know?
I can't remember.
It's been adequate in the past 30 or 45 days.
Parcel, do you know?
What?
16 acres, I think?
Because so if it's, it probably has already been reviewed by land acquisition. In other words, I think. we
Not
have
that I'm aware of,
a
I was at their last meeting.
No, it wasn't?
No.
I
Okay.
sent it to them today, and I sent it to Rural Land Foundation.
Okay.
Planning Board got it, Conservation, Agricultural, State Forester got it, Assessors, we have it,
You know, I
Board
also,
of Health has it.
there's something that's triggered when we actually get the notice of their site visit. And it seems like it's always been discussed after the site
I
visit.
have the rundown of that, I have the,
Yeah, if we could just go through that.
Yeah.
I know we created a flow chart a while ago to keep it simple.
Yeah,
Yeah, for council. Yeah.
Yeah, do you,
No, I mean, I'm trying to remember this, as you're going over too, we have like a very, like, sort of set of timeline procedures.
okay.
You contact us, you contact Amy, she can put you right.
I have it, my computer.
But they do allow adequate time for the
Yeah.
meetings and the discussion.
Yeah,
Like, it's
because
not like-
we just got the notice
Yeah,
today,
it's not
so.
like you have to like schedule a meeting, like, you know, at your next
30
meeting,
days,
you're gonna
yeah.
have time for the various boards to do what they need to
right.
Okay,
do. Yeah.
good. And do we have other select board reports?
I was just gonna say, the library's gonna produce another, their weekly or monthly, update newsletter will be out shortly. November one was published, I think, like the first week of November, but this will be an update, so
Okay,
that should be out fairly soon.
great. So we're gonna jump back to item number 2, unless did you have any select board reports? Okay. Jump back to number 2, which was the consideration of town administrator Adams, the town council appointment and legal representation agreement.
Each year, the select board needs to appoint general counsel, and towns do it in various ways. Some use a retainer, some don't use a retainer. The proposal that's come forward is the same proposal basically as last year, and it's still, we're still doing the retainer. And Darren's here to talk about that,
Sure.
that proposal.
Well, thank you very much, tonight, to the chair. So, for most of our clients, you know, we sort of let, whether or not you want a contract, it's up to really the town. You know, we always say we're more than happy operating at the will and pleasure of the board, and we're confident that we'll provide good enough services that you'll keep calling us, and if you don't, that's your discretion. However, there are some clients, a number of them, including yourself, that would rather have a contract and would rather use a retainer, which we're happy to do. You know, we do work for most of our clients just on an hourly rate, but we're happy to do a retainer. So we used basically a similar retainer that has been in place back when Barbara was sort of lead counsel and brought KP Law over from her previous practice. And we did change the amount slightly. There hadn't been a change in your hourly rate since 2017, so we suggested a modest $5 an hour increase, as well as I want to say $6,000 a year to the retainer. Everything else is exactly how it was under your previous contract. You know, we obviously are very passionate about representing municipalities. We don't do it for the money because there's a lot more lucrative areas out there, but it's something we love. And you know, we've certainly enjoyed, you know, like when Barbara said, oh, I have a quick labor question you can help me with, I didn't know that necessarily. That would mean She was heading to a couple years later to different pastures, and now I'm sitting where she was, but it's been an honor and a privilege for me to work closely with all the town officials, and I look at it as my privilege, so we would
Thanks.
certainly love to continue to work for the town.
Just was gonna ask, since we give you so much volume, you'd think we'd get a volume discount instead of an increase.
Well, but I actually think you do. If you look at the way, the alternative fee arrangements, I think gives you that, to be quite honest. And so, you know, our rates are pretty good.
They're very
Yeah.
good.
I know, I'm just saying, I know how much, I mean, I saw the chart of how much we've spent in the last year, so. Anybody else have questions,
No.
comments?
We haven't hit the,
Just further reiterate that the rates are quite reasonable, and I deal with legal services quite a bit, and yeah, no complaints here. And the services are good as well.
Thank you.
David, did you have something you
I
wanted to
was
say?
just saying, we haven't hit the economy of scale point yet.
All
We're
right.
working on it.
We'll take a motion to, what do we do? Motion to approve the legal contract with KP Law as presented.
So moved.
Second?
All those in favor? Thank you.
Thank you.
I think that is it for our open session.
Do we execute that tonight? Do we have a
Oh,
contract?
is this the
I
one?
got it right
Oh,
there.
you got the execution copy, okay,
Although
good.
I never have a pen. You guys have Chuck's
Oh, yeah.
fancy,
I'm surprised there's not a pile of them in this drawer right here. Find my language here. So, now we're gonna adjourn to executive session, not to return to open session. Item 1, MGL Chapter 30A, Section 21A. Oops, we had switched in our agenda, we had moved the library to first, so you guys don't have to be here all night waiting, so. I'll do that one first. Item 1 will be MGL, what?
You want me to read that whole section again?
No, I'll read it.
You sure?
I got it, yep. MGL Chapter 30A, Section 21A, Subsection 3, to discuss strategy with respect to threatened potential litigation. If an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the litigation position of the town, and the chair so declares library. Item 2 will be MGL Chapter 30A, Section 21A, Subsection 3, to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining. If an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the bargaining position of the town, and the chair so declares, police officers union. Item 3 will be MGL Chapter 30A, Section 21A, Subsection 3, to discuss strategy with respect to all pending and threatened litigation. If an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the litigation position of the town, and the chair so declares, legal update from town council. Item 4, MGL Chapter 30A, Section 21A, Subsection 3, to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining. If an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the bargaining position of the town, and the chair so declares, all unions, health insurance. Item 5, MGL Chapter 30A, Section 21A, Subsection 2, to conduct strategy sessions in preparation for negotiations with non-union personnel, town administrator. I need a second and a roll call vote.
Second.
Motion is seconded by
You have to
Ms.
say I so declare. You have to
Oh,
say
I so declare on whatever ones I had to declare on.
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Johnson. Having a second, we'll now have a roll call vote. Mr. Waldron,
Yes.
Mr. Johnson,
Aye.
and Mr. Morrell, aye. Having passed by a vote of 3-0, the open session is now closed. We will not be returning to open session. We're now in executive session.